This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, time being 7 p.m., I'd like to call this meeting to order. First, we have the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robinson Superior Treaty, and that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis people. As we've all seen in the news lately, what's occurring in Ukraine, our thoughts and prayers go to the people of Ukraine and those around the world affected by those unprovoked attacks. Still no cam? Okay. Administration advises that there's no new additions to the agenda. Do any members of council wish to make amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Can I have a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Park, Councillor Muir, all in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Yep, seeing none. We have Joanna Kirbride from Aqua here tonight to present the fourth quarterly report of 2021, as well as the annual summary report for the Red Rock drinking water system. Also, Patrick is here. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship, Council and Administration. Thank you for having Patrick and I here. As stated, Pat's going to go through the quarterly report to start things off, and then we will jump into presenting the annual reports. So I will hand it over to you, Pat.
Thanks, Joe. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so Q4, and typically we would have liked to have been a little bit earlier on Q4 because Q1 is going to come out probably by the end of April. So, but we like to put the quarterly report together just to give everybody some numbers to look at on how the facilities are operating. So we've got the first page here is basically what our limits are for our flows coming into the water treatment plant. So we put in our monthly flows that come through, and we also give you the limits. So our capacity for our flows at the water treatment plant is 2,722 cubic meters per day. And if you can see below, our total flow and our averages are well below those marks. So there's a lot of room for capacity. Should anything happen in Red Rock where you guys are looking at expanding, there's definitely room with the system to be able to take that on. For the wastewater facility, it's the same thing. So for the Q4, there's going to be more explanation on Q1 for the new wastewater facility, because we kind of transitioned in Q3, Q4 coming over. So the ECA is different. So the numbers are different. They reflected on Q4. So the rated capacity for the wastewater facility is 900 cubic meters a day. And that's just normal flows. But our peak hourly flows were rated for 5,000 cubic meters a day. So if we look at the numbers down below, you'll see that in October, we came fairly close to our daily average for our 900 cubic meters per day. Fall and spring is going to show a lot more because of all the snow that we have, that snow melt, there's going to be a lot more. Even though everything's fairly new at the wastewater facility, there's still possibly infiltration in the sewer system. So some of that excess water will go to the wastewater facility and our flows will go up. But we should be protected with our peak flows rating there to where we shouldn't get anywhere near it. And again, there is the room for added capacity at the wastewater facility. So the numbers all look pretty good for Q4 when it comes to our flows. Compliance summary. All the oh, sorry, somebody. Oh, okay. So all of our sampling at the water plant, at the wastewater plant, has all been done within the regulations. The one thing that I do want to bring up for the wastewater facility, and we're not going to see it on this quarterly report, but we will on Q1, is as we're starting to operate the new wastewater facility, it is taking a bit of time to get the phosphorus and TSS under control with the dosing of our chemicals to make sure that everything's good with the RBC, because everything's fairly new and it takes a very long time to start building the bacteria on these return batch reactors to be able to disinfect properly. So the numbers aren't quite where they should be at this point, but they will get there. And again, everything is reported to the MECP. Quite a bit more sampling with the new ECA and the new wastewater facility than there was in the past with the old one. So phosphorus, for example, is a weekly sample. Before it was a monthly composite, and now it's a weekly sample, and our numbers are calculated on a monthly average. So the phosphorus is one of the items right now that we're having a bit of a hard time. We're just over the limits on our monthly average. So the operators are working very hard. They're adjusting dosages on the alum and the chemicals to make sure that we can get that phosphorus number down. A lot of different things affect it, especially on the wastewater side. You have to do gradual adjustments. So it takes a long period of time before the adjustments actually show. And the temperature is another factor. It being the first winter, we started kind of in the fall, then the temperature, switched quickly to the winter. So there's always adjustments that need to be made there. But all in all, everything is running pretty good at the wastewater plant. There are a few outstanding items that the contractors are still working on, but the operators are in there full time right now, and making sure that everything is running smooth. Occupational health and safety. All the health and safety inspections were completed at the wastewater facility and the water facility. There's no incidents to report for Q4. Everything's been good. As far as communication with the MECP, we completed the municipal drinking water license in Q4 and got the final there. So everything is all completed and above board for that. And we've received the final. No other communications in Q4, although just to give everyone a heads up, in Q1, you'll see that we are in an inspection currently right now that started in February, end of February. We're just in the process of going back and forth with gathering all the information. But it's been great. The inspection is geared towards kind of part-time Aqua and part-time Township because of our transfer. So I've been working with Blair very closely and everything's been great. We've been able to gather up all the information for the inspector, and everything's going smoothly right now. So we'll probably won't have a rating at the Q1 presentation, but we will probably for Q2. Customer complaints, we haven't received any. I don't think the township has either. Everything seems to be running pretty good. Very minimal call outs for the month of, well, for Q4. We had one call out for a low tower level in October. We had a low pH call out in November, and a UV alarm and another low tower level in December. So 5 total in the quarter. The low tower level, we had some issues there with the analyzer and the level sensor. That's since been repaired. Capital projects, we didn't really concentrate too much with the water treatment plant in Q4, well, this year really. Kind of everything was getting pushed towards that new wastewater facility to try to get it up to speed. So there wasn't a list submitted for 2021, but we've submitted the list for 2022, and it's under review right now and going back and forth with that one. Oops. Other than that, that's about it. I do have on the quarterly report, and you all have a copy of it. I like to keep the qualifications of the operators and the operators that are in the area operating your facilities. So right now there's myself as the senior ops manager. And then Dave Houston, you all know Dave, he's got a level 3 in water treatment, a level 3 in wastewater treatment, and a level 2 in collection. So that level 3 is very critical for the wastewater facility because we weren't able to get it to a level 2 plant. So it's a level 3 plant. So having Dave licensed up to that level 3 is a really big deal for us here for that facility. We also have Clark and Pierre, they're OITs, but right now they're well on their way to getting their level 1s. Clark has actually written his exams and has been successful. So we're in good shape there. He's just got to get his time in and then he'll be leveled up. So the operators are working really hard at getting leveled up for the plant. They're doing a fantastic job. But that's about it for Q4. If there's any questions at all, please don't hesitate.
Council have any questions to ask? No, I'm just assuming because the takeover of starting of the new plant and the water treatment plant, somewhat like your variables being above, you know, that will transition and we will get that down to the proper limits.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It takes a good year and a half of operations before kind of all the little kinks get worked out and everything else. But we're making sure that communication is wide open with the MECP and the inspectors, and they're well aware of everything that's going on. And there's still a few things, and I know we're still sending some lab results to the engineer, the contracting engineer for the facility, in case they've got some things that we can do on that end of it as well.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, before we jump over to the annual reports, I just wanted to mention, as part of Pat's quarterly reporting, he talks about flows and stuff right at the beginning, the flows of the plant. And the reason that he's doing that, I know it's not super exciting stuff, but the reason that he's doing that is to help you as council and as the system owners understand the capacity of the facilities. And so under regulation, the statutory or standard of care requires that the system owner assess their facilities and have knowledge or know whether or not they're meeting capacity. So it's a regulatory purpose. And if you ever have questions about what those flows mean, feel free to ask. Sometimes we'll present them in a way, because we're so used to talking about it all the time, we'll use acronyms to explain things. And we forget that, to just say, well, this is what this means. And that kind of leads us to the annual report, which if it's all right, we'll jump into next. And I'll talk a little bit about what we did differently this year to also support that. Am I able to share my screen? I don't know. I tried and it said, oh, there we go. I can do it now. Thank you. So as I was mentioning, sometimes when we talk about flows, we use acronyms like PTTW or MDWL. So the flows that we will talk to you about are when we compare to your permit. This is what regulates your system. And then, or against your municipal drinking water license. And that's the license requirement of the amount of water we're allowed to treat. So for the annual reports, and Pat's going to go through this presentation. Hopefully you can all see my screen. But this is something new that we did this year. So you should have 3 attachments or files for the annual reports. You'll have what's called a section 11, a schedule 22, and then you'll have this summary, which has the aqua logos on it. The other 2 reports, the section 11 and the schedule 22, those are the regulatory reports. That's what gets submitted to the ministry, and those reports meet the drinking water legislation or the requirements. But in this summary is something that we did new this year to aid in council and the public's understanding of what the annual report is and why it's required. So we added a couple of features that you'll see as Pat goes through it in here with some helpful definitions and acronyms, as well as explaining what a section 11 or a schedule 22 report is for. What's the purpose kind of in it. So I will hand it over to you, Pat, to go through Red Rock system and their section 11 and schedule 22.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe. So like Joe was saying, Reg 170 is the reg that we follow. We require an annual report every year, and I think it's the section 11 is due by the end of February, I believe. And the reason it comes out to council and to the township is so that it can be made public to any resident of the township. So at any time, they should be able to come into the town hall or wherever, or on the website where they can access it. So section 11 requires a development and distribution to the public of an annual report summarizing water quality monitoring results, adverse water quality incidents, system expenses, and chemicals used in the water treatment process. So section 11 concentrates on the quality of the treated water that's going out to residents. Another part of section 11 is to identify the chemicals used in the water treatment process. So for us in Red Rock at the water plant, we utilize chlorine gas for secondary disinfection, utilize soda ash for pH adjustment, alum as our flocculant to help our settling, along with the polymers and the bentonite. We also, and for this year, the numbers are very low because we kind of came in March, and there was a big concentration on the new wastewater facility. But typically every year in the annual report, we'll have all major expenses for that for the year will be listed in the annual report, so that the residents, council, everybody can have access to that and know where the money's going. Adverse water quality incidents are also listed in there in the section 11. So in here, we can see we've got April 2nd, we had a high chlorinated water. Was resolved on April 3rd. Water was flushed from the water tower. Distribution chlorine residuals were collected at 3 sites with results documented and shared with the MECP, of course. It just gives everyone an idea of the challenge, not so much the challenges, but just so that they know and get an understanding when, you know, should there be a BWA or a boil water advisory put in, there's an explanation for it in the annual report. In Q2 of 2021, the Red Rock Water Treatment Plant was out of compliance with OREG 170.03, Schedule 6.4, whereas they exceeded the regulatory duration between quarterly samples. So samples were taken 121 days from the previous sample, exceeding the window. Quarterly samples are to be taken anytime between 60 and 120 days between samples, and they were taken a day late from the window. So that's all been reported, and communication were done with the MECP. And in December, a low treated water chlorine. So the plant was shut down on a low level alarm. So a lot of these things, they don't always end up being a reportable or a non-compliance. So a low treated chlorine, the plant shut down at 0.67 milligrams per liter. But that gives us time because once the plant is shut down, the clear well is good. And if CT's met, we're still okay. So those fail safes are in there for the plants to shut down so that we could avoid potential hazardous water going out to residents. The issue was resolved right away, same day. Clear well was drained, the filter one and all the pipelines throughout were all drained, and everything was brought back online immediately once chlorine levels were rising. Schedule 22. So it requires a development and distribution to council of an annual report summarizing incidences of regulatory non-compliance and associated corrective actions, in addition to providing flow monitoring results for the purpose of enabling the owner to assess the capability of the system to meet existing and planned demand. So Schedule 22 concentrates on quantity. And again, you can see how, excuse me, you can see how we are trying to be very redundant when it comes to giving that information out. So you see it in the quarterly report, and you'll also see it in the annual report. Daily flow rates. So raw water is your water coming in from Lake Superior, and your permit to take water controls those limits. And it controls our maximum daily volumes versus the permit to take water. So those volumes are going to be in that report. And as we're compiling that data together, we're putting everything in there. But we're not just finding out at that time. These are parameters that are checked every day with the operators. Our treated water is the same thing, our average daily volumes versus the municipal drinking water license, and the maximum daily volumes versus the municipal drinking water license. So the treated water volumes are done, our parameters are within the municipal drinking water license for the treated, and for the raw, they're within the permit to take water. So our water flow rates, our average daily volume, you can see is at about 11% of the permit to take water. So we have, 89% on average of extra capacity that the water treatment plant can handle. And our maximum daily volume, we're at about 18%. So we still, even at our max volume that we take on a daily max, we still have 82%. So capacity wise, the water treatment plant is in very good shape, and there's a lot of room for expansion there. Our treated flows. So our average daily volume, as you can see, we're about 298 cubic meters. And our municipal drinking water license limit is 2,722. So 89%. So our capacities are very good on the treated water side as well. And our max flow, again, same thing. We've got 81% of capacity there, utilizing about 20%. Regulatory non-compliances and corrective actions. So I'll run through these quickly. The owner operating authority was not in compliance with the requirement to prepare Form 1 documents as required by their drinking water works permit during the inspection period. So that item has been taken care of. The forms have been drawn up and submitted. The primary disinfection equipment was not equipped with alarms or shut-off mechanisms that satisfied the standards described in section 1-6, subsection 1 of Schedule 1 of the Ontario regulation. So that's been completed as well. We kind of came in a time where the inspection had taken place before we came in. But we had the opportunity to work with Blair and work together in rectifying some of these items. And Blair had quite a bit of these items already taken care of, and this was one of them that was taken care of, adding some more safeguards to make sure that the plant shuts off should there be any issues. It was noted during the inspection that necessary analyzer adjustments are not being recorded in the logbook when the margin of the error between the online analyzer and the handheld test result is greater than the margin of error permitted by Schedule 6.5 of OREG 170. That's also been rectified and completed. So moving forward, these items we shouldn't see anymore moving forward on the future inspections. It was noted during the inspection that the operating authority have not been generating monthly UV alarm reports containing the prescribed information. It was reported that the alarm summaries are displayed on the UV control panel interface, but not all required information is provided in this format. The format's been changed and everything is complete here as well. So again, no further issues with this regard. The UV was also set up to completely shut off the plant should the dosage not be right, or should there be any malfunction with the UV system. It was noted during logbook review that on August 11, 2020, at 2040, the polymer feed pump failed and initiated plant shutdown, but the alarm did not generate operator call-out. So this was another fail-safe that was put in. So what happens is the plant shuts down, so there's nothing that can be done, but the alarm call-out set point was set a little bit lower. So it was set up all on the tower level. So if the tower is full and the plant is shut down, the call out will come from the tower when we need to make sure that we're making water. If we get too close to the close point where we need water and we won't make our CT, the alarm will call us out there. So the extra fail safe that we did there, so that there was an alarm set up. It just wasn't directly when the chemical feed pump failed. It was triggered off the tower. So now the way that the plant is set up, and this was done before we came in, the way that it's set up is once the chemical feed pump goes down, the plant will shut down and it will call out the operators. So the operators will be able to decide if they want to attend right away or if it's a false alarm or anything like that. But regardless, they will be alarmed right away when the chemical feed pump fails. It was noted during the document review that the Red Rock Drinking Water System Operations Manual lacks a number of contingency procedures required to deal with emergencies, upset conditions, and equipment breakdowns. That's also a completed item. Before we came around, there was a lot of documents added to the O&M manual. And then we're going to continue to add to it as well as new things arise. We try to keep up with our standard operating procedures to make sure that it's in the O&M manual and it's accessible. Well, thank you very much. That's I guess the slide says we're done. If there's any questions, and you know, it doesn't have to be tonight. If there's any questions at any time from any one of you, please don't hesitate to contact me anytime or through Mark or through Blair. Definitely happy to, you know, even come down and sit with you, go through anything that or any questions that you guys might have on water, wastewater, anything that we can do to just help you understand. Or I mean, I imagine you all understand fairly well already, but if there's something that you kind of you're not sure of, don't hesitate to call me anytime. I'll come down or we can have a conversation anytime.
Do any members of council have any questions of Joanna or Patrick? I do want to thank you for explaining some of that a little bit more in detail, because before we would just get a thick booklet and you read it and hopefully you understand. And there you go, right? That's your basic information.
Well, and it gets very difficult, and it's knowledge that I believe everyone sitting on council and everyone sitting, you know, in a township position should have that information.
Yep, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice to see everyone.
You guys take care.
Take care. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
Okay, may I have a mover and seconder for motion to receive the 2021 the quarterly report from Aqua? Councillor McDonald. Councillor Tedesco. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, may I have a mover and seconder for motion to accept and approve the section 11 and schedule 22 annual summary reports for 2021 submitted by Aqua for the Township of Red Rock Drinking Water System? Councillor Muir, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, next item 5.1. Minutes of last meeting, council meeting February 22nd, are at item 5.1. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Seeing none, Kate, may I have a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the minutes at items 5.1? Councillor Park. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, first item up. 6.1, discussion purposes relating to the donation to the Red Rock Bowling League for their wind-up prizes. Do any members of council have any questions? Councillor Muir?
I think I'll have to.
You're cutting.
declare a conflict of interest in this one. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. So,
I'll have to declare a conflict of interest on this. Yeah.
okay. Anyone have any questions? I think maybe if Mark, you want to explain a little bit on a donation instead of giving the proceeds for the week. How that.
Yeah, thank you. I believe that the proper procedure here would be, and this is, I had just asked for a letter when the question came to me, but I mean, I don't think what is in front of us is the proper way to do it, but there is a way we can do it. So basically, by waiving those fees, we then don't report that revenue and what we should report on a basis to the government on our revenues going through our facilities. So I would propose to council that if this was something that was in the interest of council, that we did it by means of a basic donation from a budgetary line, right? From an item in our budget. So we would make a donation that way. What the number represents here, if when we do our math on that, this probably amounts to about from anywhere between $500 and $700 a week would be what the ask would represent based on these numbers. So again, I would recommend to council that if it is the will of council to pick a number that they were comfortable with, if that was the desired way to go, and to make that as a donation from a reserve fund. Or sorry, from a budgeted amount. Sorry, not a reserve fund. It's a budgeted line amount.
Are there any questions or comments? I don't like the fact of handing over the revenue, right? If that's something that we need to include into our regulatory, accounting business. I don't mind making a donation. It comes out of our bowling is the one major thing that's going on at the recreation center. We do have a lot of people involved. So it's I don't know how everybody else feels on that.
I agree. I wouldn't mind to give a small donation, but that's all that I'm comfortable with.
I think I agree too. I think it's a good idea, and we are kind of doing what the letter is asking, just in a different way that makes it easier for, the township. So I'm for it. And plus it does, it'll make people want to come back, right?
Well, and I do echo what the mayor said. I mean, the excitement around adult bowling in the recreation center is something. It took me by surprise when I first came in, to be totally honest. So it is something that does put a lot of energy into the building, and I think that's something we're really trying to promote. It again, I mean, these decisions can have a domino effect, but ultimately, I think it's definitely a procedural decision of council, and that would be the way I would suggest you did it if that was the desire.
I would tend to concur with that. The other thing too is we got to remember we've got a number of people from Nipigon that also utilize this service, and it's a good service to have for our community. It highlights our recreation center that much more, and we've got a big project coming up now with the recreation center. So yeah, we should give them some money through a donation.
So Mark, are you looking for a dollar amount from us tonight as well?
Yeah, that would be what we would need from council. So we would make that donation based on, obviously we're working on our budget now. We're in initial stages of it, but when we look at the numbers based on 2021, and usually you will follow those numbers quite closely in your annual budget process. So we would have no trouble, transferring that amount, as we haven't made a donation yet, whether that was from council and or public relations operation that way. So, I mean, we're just looking for a number from council, and we can make that happen.
What was the average numbers that you were saying that would be coming through?
If you looked at a weekly revenue base, it's anywhere between $500 to $700 is what we've really collected. Taking on the bowling alley ourselves this year has almost 4 times the profit that we do see from last year even. So we do see quite a bit more money coming in taking the bowling alley on it ourselves. So yeah, I mean a suggestion there on where we wanted to go with that is what we're looking for.
I would recommend the high end.
So what I'm thinking is anywhere from $150 to $250 a donation. That's
I'm comfortable with 2.
200. Okay.
Yeah.
As you know, previously it was a 60-40 split, right? So whoever the operator of the bowling alley used to get 60% of the funds, right? What they was collected, and 20% came back to the municipality. So now that we're running it, we're obviously making a bit more money, but we can give them some. So Councillor McDonald or Councillor Tedesco, how do you feel on 200?
I feel that's low.
Yeah, I think it's kind of low too.
Any suggestion then?
500.
Why don't we go with 4? I'll pick a different number.
Do you hear 5? Remember, it does
How about
provide
4?
service.
Okay,
There's
so I,
two for
okay.
4.
Let's do 4.
Okay, 400.
Okay, so the direction would be 400 then?
Yes.
Just even a show of hands from council on the direction at 400 would be plenty.
Yeah, 400 is acceptable. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve a donation to the Red Rock Bowling League for their season wind-up awards in the amount of $400? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising. Councillor Muir. Conflict? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, next item is 6.2. Information purposes only relating to an extension for applying to sit on the Child Care and Early Years Advisory Table. Do any members of council have any questions? Again, it's just a follow-up letter because I don't think they got too many people, so they've extended the application. Okay, seeing none, moving on. 6.3 is a thank you letter from the Ministry of Northern Development relating to delegation at NOMA. Do any members of council have any questions? Again, it's just some court. Oh, Councillor Muir.
Hey, good work on that. It's tough going to talk to ministers, and good work on that, getting the letter back. They know about it, so hopefully they toss some money our way.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yep.
Okay, item 6.4, information purposes only regarding the summary of the board meeting on February 23rd. Do any members of council have any questions? This is NOMA. Seeing none. Okay, again, from NOMA is a letter sent to the Solicitor General of Ontario regarding the recent firefighter certification mandates. Do any members of council have any questions? We do have the fire chief available if anybody has questions on that. Seeing none, it's ongoing, and Chief Petrie is daily in contact with them for updates on how it will affect our municipality. Okay,
Can I say something, Mayor Robertson?
go ahead.
So I will have another update regarding this at the next meeting. I just sat in this evening just to see if there was any questions. There is still more things coming in daily from the OFM emails and stuff like that. But yeah, I've seen some responses from different organizations and different communities regarding this. So I'm hoping to have some more information when I come back to the next meeting on this to have for council and the municipality. It's kind of caught everybody off guard, and caught some most municipalities off guard. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens if they go forward with this. This is like I believe Mark has mentioned in the past that this is the same thing that they tried to enforce back in 2018, which at that point wasn't approved. But this one's a little bit more intensive in training and stuff like that. So, like I said, I'll have probably some more information regarding this next meeting. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Chief Petrie, just wondering, I see Karamat has closed their fire hall. Is that any relation to this, or was that coming, do you think?
That closure has been coming for a while. They only had one active firefighter there, unfortunately. So I know the past chief there, I had some discussions with him at mutual aid meetings because they are now in our zone. And they were discussing it a couple of years back, just due to the fact of members, right? The numbers. So it's hard to run a department with one member or two members, and for that municipality in that community, most members don't work in that community. So it was hard for them to keep that. It is a big blow for the municipality of Greenstone, because now the fire suppression is a little bit longer away with being in Long Lac. So and with these new standards, I'm hoping this doesn't affect other municipalities too, which I think it's going to, for manpower and stuff. So hopefully things can get straightened out and things can go in the right direction. But until we have a final say from the fire marshal, we're still kind of in a waiting pattern.
Okay.
Ryan, overall, what is the objective of the province in what they're proposing? What do you see at the end product that they're looking for?
Well, what they're looking for, to be honest with you, is every volunteer to be a certified firefighter. They're taking, and this is my opinion, they're taking the volunteer out of the fire service. And what they're doing is they're unloading all the responsibility on the municipality. So I know that I sat in a couple briefings, and I believe Mayor Robinson and CEO Figlamini sat in it. It was two different presentations. Ours was a lot more technical than what was presented to the municipalities and the CAO. So these standards will hurt a lot of municipalities, and they are going to hurt the membership of the volunteer service. I'm thinking what they're trying to do is they're trying to make every municipality, and like I said, this is my opinion, be a composite fire department, which is half full-time, half volunteer. And that's the way I see it. But everybody else may have different opinions, but that's the way that I'm thinking, that the direction that the fire marshal wants to head.
Okay, thanks for that. And we look forward to your report next meeting then.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, moving on, item 6.6 is a resolution from NOMA relating to joint and several liability. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing none? Mark, go ahead.
Mayor Robinson, I just wanted to, I know NOMA is looking for individual support from municipalities to support this resolution. We, if it was the will of council, we could bring it back at the next meeting. What this is it's directly speaking to the increase that we're all seeing as municipalities in insurance rates. Township of Red Rock right now in initial discussions is well, not probably, we are looking at probably an additional 20% this year as well, based on 42% of an increase, I believe it was last year. Insurance rates in Ontario for municipalities, well, I guess in general, are out of control. So that's what NOMA is looking for. You know, this resolution goes, but it may be beneficial if it was the will of council to have us bring back one that we were supporting as well.
I think it would be beneficial to bring that back, and more than likely we would sign off on that, as it is crazy the amount that it's going up, not just for Red Rock, over.
So we'll bring that back to the next meeting then for
Okay. Okay, item 6.7, Red Rock Indian Band is a request for a letter of support from the Red Rock Indian Band regarding a community support center. Do any members of council have any questions? Councillor Tedesco?
Perhaps Melissa can explain a bit further as to what this request is. It seems a little bit vague in some ways.
Yeah, I can explain a little bit more. So there is a conflict of interest because I've submitted this letter on behalf of Red Rock Indian Band. So what is happening is we are hoping to build a small scale safe house facility on Lake Helen Reserve. And this will be like a small 3-unit that can house, you know, 3 families in domestic violence or emergency situations. So we're kind of landlocked on the reserve. So it's going to be fairly small building, maybe 2 office space, a program room. So I'm applying to CMHC for funding for this. And the funding will cover like construction costs and operation costs. So part of the funding application asks for letters of support from some surrounding communities, you know, the nearest safe house facility, you know, in Thunder Bay or Marathon, Delico. So I've OPP, I've contacted quite a few different places asking for just a letter that says, because we're so far from Thunder Bay, we're far from other, safe house facilities. So the local area could use something like this. It's just a letter of support from the Township of Red Rock to say that this is a great initiative and you're in support of it. We're not looking for any financial or anything. It's just a letter to say, yes, we agree with you.
Melissa, would this be available to band members, but also non-band members, say somebody from Red Rock?
So this particular safe house would be for Indigenous only. And also the application that we're applying to is for Indigenous families only. But I was talking to an OPP officer that stated that there was also need for safe house facilities for, other members. I think I can't remember the agency that he was talking about, but I think maybe next week I may go talk to them and see if maybe we can collaborate together since I've already gathered, lots of statistics and information on this topic, so I can help share and maybe we could get another building off reserve.
Okay, thank you. I see Gord's screen is frozen there. I'm not sure if he can hear us. But I see absolutely no problem in supporting this initiative.
And administration definitely is in support and recommends, and we basically will have a letter ready to go as soon as, you know, we do hear that that direction from council.
I'm favorable.
Yeah, I support this as well.
Okay. So council approves the letter of support. Thank you, Melissa, and that was a great report as well. It was detailed. Okay, item 7.1. Our minutes from the DSAB meeting, January 13th, 2022. Do members of council have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Item 8.1. Report from an administrative activity. Do members of council have any questions of Mr. Figlamini?
I was glad to see that there was an item in the paper as far as properties that were coming up to. No, the only thing is I was wondering about the company that does it. Would there be a possibility of utilizing a local company to do the service? I think it was Real Tax or something was.
Yeah, Real Tax is the company that handles this. This is a municipal tax sale. So there is no local company that I'm aware of. Real Tax handles the tax sale process for the municipalities in the province of Ontario. These are tax sale properties, so it's a little bit of a different scenario, which we'll later in the report, when we get to the direction discussion updates, we'll come across the municipal owned property. So in that case, it's definitely something we could utilize a local person for if need be. But this is a bit of a different process.
These are provincial properties. Is that what you're saying?
These are properties that are in tax sale. So the property for property tax. So they're in what is called the tax sale process that we enact within the Municipal Act based on the number of years that the properties are behind in taxes.
So what's the difference between the properties that we, for example, Rankin Street and Crutchfield and these ones here? What's the difference?
Well, we own Rankin Street, so we don't own these properties. These properties are going through the tax sale process based on taxes, right? So property taxes. So we don't own these properties. We could own these properties based on failed tax sales. We're hoping that doesn't happen. We're hoping that these properties will sell in basically what is a process of sealed and bids and tenders that will be opened at the municipal office by the CAO clerk on the 17th of this month, I believe. So this is all part of that process. At which point then, if they are unsuccessful, we would, as a council, have to make a decision what we were going to do with those properties at that point.
Once there's a default on taxes, doesn't that property automatically revert to us?
No, it reverts to the tax sale process that we've advertised in the paper.
Okay, there seems to be a disconnect.
Okay, you know what, I'm going to stop the conversation so we can, you can follow up, Cam, with Mark after on this.
Yeah, I can explain the whole process offline, Cam, to you if that's easiest, but not a problem.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else have any questions regarding Mark's report? I do want to mention that Gary Nelson did receive the Ontario Volunteer Service Award. There was technical difficulties with the first presentation. The second one, notification was given and they just basically played something that was pre-recorded, and hundreds of names popped up on a screen. So that was basically it. So I'd like council's permission if we can ask Mr. Nelson to come to next council meeting. And he did receive awards in the mail, so we will just kind of officially hand that over to him if that's acceptable to council.
Yes, I agree 100%.
It's a great idea.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd just like to speak on that for 1 second as well. In some of the items, I did have a mistake in here. It was 50 years for Mayor Nelson, not 60 years. And I apologize to Mayor Nelson for that, but we are honoring 50 years of service. Just wanted to update council as well that the ice trail at the marina is now done for the season. The amount of snow we got and the amount of slush underneath that snow, it just became unmanageable to open for what would probably be another 2 weeks. And it's just something we lost this year due to the elements. I did want to bring up the conferences coming up and bring that to council's attention. The Thunder Bay District Municipal League Conference, if anyone had an interest in attending that, to just let us know at the office. As well as the NOMA conference, which is scheduled. You'll see the dates scheduled on the report. So those two conferences, most communities, a lot, and I believe in Red Rock we should forego the OGRA conference this year. The timing of it and NOMA and the rescheduling of the conference, we're seeing a lot of overlap there. There's some general overlap. We'll also we do have commitment from the ministers to be at the NOMA conference, which is in Fort Francis. So for example, administration, if that was the case. So the recommendation would be as a municipality to not attend the OGRA conference this year. And if anybody was interested and had an interest in attending either Thunder Bay District and or NOMA, just to let us know at the office. The last item I had is, and this ties into the previous discussion, these are municipally owned properties. So this is where 19 Rankin would tie in, and those type of properties. What I would like to do is we're building a kind of a summary of those properties within the office now. I get numerous calls, specifically 19 Rankin is one that I get a lot of calls on, but I do get a lot of other calls based on other vacant pieces of property in Red Rock. With some studying that I have done and speaking to other municipalities, they've been very successful in the last little bit. There is a demand on properties right now in our areas. Some of the most successful processes have been, and what I would recommend is we hand our list once we approve it and look at it, and we hand it over to somebody locally, a realtor in our area that can market those properties and sell them for us. And I think we'll find ourselves very successful. We could alternatively put signs in these properties, but we don't really have, I mean, that is a strategy we could take if we wanted, but I think at this point it would be in our best interest to negotiate a deal with a local realtor based on the fact that she blankets those whole properties into one package and tries to sell them both commercial, highway corridor, as well as residential once we solidify the list of properties that we do want to sell. So that would be a direction I'm looking for from council to do that. We could put prices on those properties through the realtor and I think be very successful in selling some of those properties, especially right now.
I would agree, especially if we can utilize the very successful realtor that's serviced our area.
So I think that's all I was looking for on that report. That direction is council. Is that acceptable direction from council on trying to sell the properties that way?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Okay. Then that would tie up my report then, Mayor Robinson.
Okay, thank you. Gord, you're just gonna have to speak if it's gonna be a yes, because we can't,
Okay.
your screen is frozen, so I can't see your head shaking yes or no.
Yeah, I got you. I can't see anybody else now either. I don't know what's going on
Okay.
here.
Okay, thanks. Technology. Okay, next item is, do I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the report? Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Gord? Yep. All hands rising, motion is carried. I see your hand up, yep. Okay, item 8.2 is a report of the proposed 2022 fee schedule and water rate. Do members of council have any questions? I don't have any questions.
So in this case, what we're looking for is we're putting this to your attention at this meeting, and then we'd like to bring it back to the next meeting with resolution for approval. So we've taken a good look at and cleaned up a lot of some of the charges, some of the wordings. We've added some new, as you can see. We've looked at some charges based on the amount of work that actually goes into these charges, and we've upped a few of those charges. So we're confident with the report. We think it's a good report. It shows the true costs, and it is the report that we operate for 2022 based on our fees and service charges. So what we're looking for today is just simply an approval to bring it back by resolution and pass at the next council meeting.
Yeah, I think that's good. And if we want to ask you any questions, we can follow up next week if we need
Certainly,
any clarification on the numbers. Okay.
Certainly, anytime you'll be able to clearly see the increases or decreases or new in the report. So certainly, any questions that you have, we can bring them at any time.
Okay. I know we all look through it and we agree, and then something happens during the year, and this always is brought back to us. And it's something that we miss because, it's one of those things, but it looks good right now. So we'll go through it again just to make sure.
Okay. So we'll bring that back then to, I mean, unless we hear anything, we'll bring that back with a resolution at the next council meeting then.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next item is 9.1 is a bylaw to enter into an agreement with the Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry for the NORDS payment transfer agreement. Do members of council have any questions? So as it details in there, right, it's 5 years, $67,000 each year that we receive these payments. No questions? No? Okay. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the bylaw? Councillor Muir? Councillor Tedesco? All in favor? All hands rise. Motion is carried. Okay, there's no new business, unfinished business. There's outstanding unfinished business items. Do any members of council have any questions? These are all ongoing. So, okay, seeing none. confirming bylaw. Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder for motion to pass the bylaw? Councillor Park. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, the time being 8:10, and there's no further business to attend to. The meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Good night,
Stay safe.
everyone.
Stay warm.